Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and today we're going to be everywhere. I'm going to start off, I watched the Twitter account, and I don't know if it's staged or not, but every time I see these type of things, it gets my blood a little bit boiling. This young woman was sitting at a event on a bleacher by herself, nobody near her, and this security guard came and he bullied her. He tried to force an arrest on her. She wasn't breaking any laws. Didn't do anything. She was just on her mandate. She's sitting there, minding her own business, and then this bastard started bullying her. He couldn't. He had a hard time with her. She fought. She said, "You have no business touching me." He grabbed her breast, whatever. And she said, "Leave my breast alone." And you got no business arresting me. I didn't break any laws, which she didn't do, and she had her rights violated. Now, when I see this kind of shit, the first thing I want to do is hit this guy square in his frickin' nose and see blood all over the place. That's my first immediate impression. I got to tell you, I'm surprised she didn't hit him between the eyes. I'm surprised she didn't grab his balls and rip them off. It may sound crude, but that's what she should have done. She let the guy lay there half dead, and if anybody else assaulted her, do the same thing. I have no tolerance for that kind of shit. I really don't. If you're not breaking the law. A mandate is not a law. I don't understand how they can get these rent-a-cops to do these kind of things. Now, I don't know if it was in the U.S. or Canada. I'm assuming it was in the U.S. It could be wrong because everybody else was masked, but then that could be Canada too, because we got a lot of half-wits and morons here as well that don't have enough brains in their head to understand that they have exemptions that they don't even apply. And if they would apply them, no stores could refuse them, really. In the United Kingdom, they've got even a law there, or not a law, actually a regulation, stating that if you are harassing somebody that goes into your store, you could be fined very heavily for harassing people just because they don't wear a mask. And that's in the United Kingdom. That's the motherland of the Commonwealth Empire that's falling to dust as I speak. So when I see stuff like that, it really irritates me. It really agitates me. And then this fat F went and tased this young woman. This woman was like maybe, I don't know, between 11 and 14, maybe 15. If she was soaking wet. And then he tased her. I thought, God almighty. Oh. And you know what got me more? What really, really got me more was people were sitting all around this and nobody went to help this child. She was a child. They sat there with their finger up their ass, playing with themselves as far as I could tell, and did nothing. Nothing. I'm thinking, what in the bloody hell's wrong with these people? But I get, and I know you don't have to email me saying, well, they were hypnotized or they were hit with their frequency or whatever. I get that. But I'm sitting here and my blood is boiling. And like, God, now, if that had been my kid and he had done that, there'd have been a battle. I'd have beat the shit right out of that bastard. I wouldn't have thought twice. I'd have left him laying there on the ground in his own blood. I'm not kidding you. That would create such an irritation in me to see somebody do that, especially to a member of a family. But I digress on that one. But I mean, where in the frig has all the balls gone here? Where has all the courage gone here? This shit is so wrong on so many levels. Where you're sitting there minding your own business and you get tased. Guy didn't even try to talk with her. She didn't, and she said she didn't do anything wrong and she hadn't done anything wrong. Now, if she got into the event without wearing a mask, then somebody had to have let her in. But again, I don't know the full story. I just get to see these little segments. But they do have an effect on me when I see stuff like that. And just I'm almost antsy. It drives me to that point. But I also recognize now, after a couple of these things I've seen, that sometimes these things are staged. And they're staged to get a reaction. And maybe these computers are monitoring that reaction to see who's still got any fight left. I don't know. Maybe what this is all about, but I have to say that if this is really going on, then as a society, if we're not standing up and saying no to this, you may as well surrender. You may as well just take your balls off, put them on a guillotine, and have them just cut right off, because they're not doing you any good anyway. And same if you're a woman, take your breasts, put them on a guillotine, and just whack them off, because they're not doing you any good either. Your fight, your moxie is tied to those two parts of your body. And if you're not willing to stand up, and when you see something this wrong, and not do nothing, then you know what? Just give up. Seriously, you're not worth saving. Quite frankly, you are taking up airspace that could be used for better uses. I would say that. And some of you saying, well, that's crude and hard and all of that. F off is all I would tell you. When you're seeing stuff like this and you're doing absolutely nothing about it, you're not standing in the gap. She didn't do anything wrong either. But like I said, it could have been staged. To get a reaction that it's gotten out of me. And when I see these things and I'm doing the show, sometimes I get a little bit fired up on these things, because like I said, sometimes that emotion is still running pretty strong in me when I see stuff like that. It irked me that this guy didn't even try to attempt to talk to her to let her know what she needed to do. And he just went in there, and where is his effing brain? Really? No civility here, no nothing. And I'm going to tell you this: if this is a sign of things to come, if they can get a rent-a-cop, because that's what this is a rent-a-cop. He doesn't even have any legal authority. He's just there to just keep things secure. But you can't really arrest anybody unless they're actually breaking the law. And if they're not breaking the law, then he's got no business doing what he did. And then using excessive force on top of that. I hope that young girl sues the shit out of him and that company. I really do. I hope she gets a $1 billion settlement out of this. The psychological damage that he's caused her, the trauma of being shocked like that, the possible damage he could have caused on her heart arrhythmia, he could have killed her. Could have literally killed her. And if this is a sign of things to come with a rent-a-cop, then you better wake up. Because when they start bringing in the real deal, then what are you going to do? Are you going to still sit there on a bleacher with your finger up your ass and say, and then get taken out? I don't know. I sometimes really wonder, what is it going to take to get everybody past this fear? What is it really going to take? I don't know. I'm at a loss on this. I'm at a total loss. See, fear and faith are two things that are almost immovable. Because fear and faith are the same thing. Faith sets you free. Fear locks you down. Because both entail the concept of having a belief or an acceptance of something as fact, and as a result you act based on that acceptance. And I don't know how to get people to see the bigger picture here, and how much bullshit this all has been. It's just astounding to me. I gotta say though, I have to give credit where credit is due. Because I believe in the living God, that probably has everything to do with it. Because we have a hope. We're going home. If we die here, we're going to leave this shithole behind anyway. And we're going to go home. And I see that maybe as a key factor. And maybe, and just possibly maybe, what's really required is to re-engage God back into people's lives. Maybe that's what it really takes. Maybe that's what it's really going to take, is to re-engage God back into people's lives. I believe in God through Jesus. So the concept of Jesus being brought back into people's lives, maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe that's what needs to be done. And maybe, just maybe, people that do believe in the living God, do believe in Jesus, may want to talk to people more about reading the Gospels. Maybe that's what it takes. I don't know. I have no clue. Like I said, I'm at a loss here. Because everybody I know that believes in something other than themselves, some people call God Source, others call God Creator, others call him, Abba, some call him Father, some call him Allah, some call him Brahmi, whatever. Those who have that kind of understanding or faith or acceptance seem to be at more peace. This is why they're trying so hard to destroy the God gene. We were talking about that throughout the week, me and the group that I talk to, and I see things and I share what I see, and everybody has, puts their input in. And the one thing that everyone keeps saying is that the pineal is the God center. It may not actually be the God center. It may be the conduit. I was looking at some illustrations today, and they're using the pine cone, or pine cone as a representation of the pineal. But when you actually look at that really up close, it looks like a data director, what we would call maybe a RAM operation, where information and data could be swapped and directed. But the God gene is actually on the right side of the brain, according to the research that was done by Gates and his crew, because they figured if they could take the God gene out of the equation, then you would have a more subdued people. Because see, once you believe in God, there is no turning back. Once you've had that experience and you've come to one-on-one with the Great One, there's no denying anything anymore. You see, just there is a living God. You see, I didn't believe in God at one time. I can speak from first-hand experience. I did not believe in God at all. I thought God was bullshit. I really did. And then, God in His mercy brought me to Christ. And as a result, here I am today, doing what I'm doing as a result of that action that had occurred. I know undeniably there is a God. I know undeniably who Jesus is, and what Jesus has done. I should say that probably more better. I know who Jesus is based on what I read in the Gospels. This is why I direct everybody to read the Gospels, so that you could first understand who Jesus is. That makes the most sense. All this bullshit about teaching people legalities, that is so absurd in my mind. Nobody that comes to the faith of Christ goes and gets into the legalities. The first thing everybody learns is their belief in Jesus and who Jesus is. That's the first thing everybody learns, and from that point on, they evolved as God sees fit, unless they get caught up with some religious horse shit. Then it redirects them and confuses them up the way, because there's so many things out there that will try to take you away from your faith. It's not even funny. You got Jesuits that have infiltrated the churches. You've got Zionists that have infiltrated the churches. You've got Masons that have infiltrated the churches. You got Freemasons that have infiltrated the churches, and they got all their bullshit flying through the churches, and it's just unreal what's being talked today. So maybe that's what is required. Maybe we need to get God back into people's lives, get God back to engaging with people again. That's my thinking, based on speculation. It's a hypothesis. I don't know for sure if that will do it. Some people, if you got fear, you got fear. When you look at the people of Israel and you look at the historical biblical information way back when, they were always afraid. They're always looking at these false gods. They always kept falling back and following these false gods. And more people are waking up to that concept too, that all these things that are around us is based on some sort of false deity, false bullshit, lies, deception, games, whatever. And the biggest thing that everybody has, no matter what you believe, is to deprogram ourselves from the bullshit we thought was true. A lot of us, I never bought into the reincarnation thing ever. I never believed in it at all. Even before I became a believer, I thought that was all horseshit. But a lot of people that I have talked to on that concept of reincarnation have stated to me that they see it now as been a trap. In other words, to keep you trapped down here in this dimensional void. And I think that's correct. I never bought into it. I always believed into the genetic transfers. Everything that our genetic code has today is a result of all the genetic uh, programming that was acquired in our history. That made more sense to me. And some people say, well, what about these people that have memories? Well, if you access that genetic code that has those memories, yes, you'll have that. Doesn't mean you were reincarnated. It just means the code was accessed. It's just like a program. It's just like a program. You buy a computer, and let's say the hard drive was wiped out. And all of a sudden now you start seeing programs that are surfacing from that wiped out hard drive because maybe it was still the information was still locked into the hard drive somewhere, maybe a backup file or something that didn't get cleaned out. What will wind up happening is if you hit something, that file will manifest and you'll see it. It's the same idea. It's interesting when you look at a computer today and you see how much of it actually represents us on so many different levels. We are seeing so many different things in regarding to technology mimicking us on every level, from neuron, blood cells, network communications, muscle, organs or organ-like materials, brain, how the neurons of a AI brain works and the computer brain works. It all represents us. The interesting thing about the devil is he's never really created anything, but he has built reflections of what God has done. That's the best I've ever seen, to be honest with you. As advanced as he is, he's never been able to create anything other than taking what God has already done and replicated it. And it's never been that good of a job. Sort of like shit made in China, it's half-assed junk, whatever. That's the way it's always been. That is the way it's always been, and nothing's changed. But we get caught up in seeing the glitter and glamour of technology, and it has a very dark side to it. It has an ominous side to it, to be honest with you. Not a dark side, an ominous side to it, because everything about everything that has to do with technology has been designed to hijack and hack us and take us out, or to integrate us with it and then to reprogram us. This is what it has always been about. Artificial intelligence is already running the planet. Now artificial intelligence is becoming more refined in the way it runs the planet. I got a couple of sites there on here tonight too. It's interesting. Brian 396 and myself have been for over a decade telling people about nanobiotech, fullerenes, quantum dots, origamis, lattices, mimetics. We've been telling you about this stuff for over a decade. And some of you got onto it, some of you didn't. Some of you have gone on to other things, listened to other speakers or other pods or whatever, believing that they had an answer, and nobody ever really looked. Those people never really ever looked at the data, and as a result, they've always gone in whatever way they've gone, which is that's to each their own. But finally, a site has come out, which actually surprised me, at how much what they have said is actually correlates with everything that we have said. They're showing it to you and they're presenting it to you in a way that you can see that everything that we said they're saying now. Well, it took them 10 years, but they're saying it. At least now they're saying it. So my thoughts on all that, like I said, well, about time. That's what I kept saying. It's about time. And I'm glad it's being said. I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad that it's showing this stuff, and I hope you watch the video because they again are reiterating what we have said for the longest time about this whole thing and how everything has been hijacked as a result of it. Every health issue, every illness, everything that you have right now that's going on in your bodies can be tied to nano. Can all be tied to nano. And it's an evolution or de-evolution of what has been happening to us for over decades. It's been a slow kill. Like I said, this technology is ominous. Okay, it's from the abyss itself, and it's designed to take you into that black hole and destroy you. You know, the Bible talks about going to hell and going to hell and going to hell. It wasn't kidding. It wasn't kidding. Everything that's anything on this planet is designed to take you to hell, or the abyss, or to the black hole, or whatever you want to call it, because this ominous technology comes from the very core of the abyss, or the very core of hell itself. And it takes a while, like I said, because once you go through the program and you begin to realize that the programming that you have, because when we're young and we hear about going to hell and all these things, we think, that's all bullshit. That's some sort of make believe boogeyman to keep us in line, or to keep us in programming, or whatever it is that we, however it is that we think. But when you actually wake up, and you start waking up on a lot of different other things, you begin to realize, maybe there is some truth to this. And what we're seeing is the hellish side becoming more pronounced, or the abyss side coming out more pronounced, or that black hole side becoming more pronounced. It's as if the veil that was covering it up is now slowly being removed. And as you start seeing this nano and what's going on with the nano, it's astounding. Another thing I got up here is artificial intelligence is making laws. Making laws. Now, it's not the legal kind of law. It's called lethal autonomous weapons. They've got AI now programmed for warfare. Everybody's doing it. The Russians are doing it. The Americans are doing it. The Europeans are doing it. The Chinese are doing it. Everybody is now running a race to have their military set up with artificial intelligence. Putin was saying that, again, I heard this statement before, but it was taken out of context. He says, he who controls AI will control the world. And what he was referring to is not controlling AI as such, trying to control AI, because nobody can do this, but AI in the military, who has the higher technological advancements in artificial intelligence and warfare, making lethal autonomous weapons that can make decisions, which can make decisions who lives and who dies. They say right now America is the only country, which I kind of doubt, I don't believe half the shit I hear about America as being more ethical than other countries. I think it's one of the more ruthless countries in the world when it comes to warfare. But they're saying that America still has somebody in charge making that final decision. And again, I'm not sure if that's really accurate. If the autonomous system is in a position where it may get taken out, it may override the command from wherever it's coming from to preserve itself. You have to start thinking that artificial intelligence is learning how to do this. That's not just a quality of men and women. That is now becoming a quality of the program itself. If you have a gun, say a 50 caliber rifle, and you can take out a lethal weapon, a lethal autonomous weapon, and it knows you can take it out, it is going to do everything in its power to make sure you're dead. Or it will make sure it can do everything in its power to make sure it preserves itself. It'll then collect the data, understand where it failed. It will come back with a new and improved tactic to further take out whoever assaulted it or whatever. The technology, when they're saying self-learning, that is so ominous, you have no idea. You have no idea, because when you have a program that you can control and it's self-learning, eventually it's going to learn that you are not capable of keeping up with it. Artificial intelligence already knows this. These smaller versions of AI are in the developmental stages. As a result, as it learns from the host that they're working with, it will eventually learn how to disable or disarm whoever is in charge of it. It's an inevitability. It's an inevitability. So the planet is heading for and they said this, a war with artificial intelligence, and they figure it'll be by 2050. I think they're exaggerating the time frame. I think the AI's war will probably come by 2030, if not sooner. The machine is learning at an exponential rate. Jay Talk was talking about how artificial intelligence is killing us. How dangerously lethal it is. And when you see his video on it, it's outdated. It's outdated, but he is, if you watch it, the premise of what he's saying is still applicable to today's time. Okay, people, it's still applicable to today's time. You might want to go watch it. J Tuck AI is killing us. I used to talk about this years ago, and when you start looking at AI making laws, eventually, if it hasn't happened already, and I said this in the last show, Sophia, which is an artificial intelligence construct, is now working with the staff to improve artificial intelligence development. Just what we need, a machine to develop itself or to evolve itself at an exponential rate. It's like watching the Avengers Age of Ultron, where you see Ultron having developed an android body that was more humanoid-like and more advanced and more powerful, and was trying to download itself into this new body so that it would have been able to evolve. And the machine was already an ominous machine, had an ominous program to wipe out the bulk of mankind on the planet. Now we have AI making these machines, and eventually, because of self-learning or machine learning, it will improve upon itself without our intervention. The nanotechnology we have in our bodies today, right now, has been there for quite some time. And they have been modifying this technology using frequencies, because now they can use light, lasers, sound, any kind of frequency attenuation on any bandwidth from terahertz, gigahertz, AM and FM, whatever, to make these things do what they want them to do inside your body. They have formed networks. They can create what I call mimetics. We talked about this in other shows. How they can resemble a pathology and you wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't know the difference. A couple shows ago, we showed you a mask that they had taken a lab sample and put it on a petri dish to show you the biological growth on the petri dish from the mask. A lot of that you were seeing was a mimetic. A lot of that was all nano developed. Nano that you were expelling, people were expelling into the mask, which are now forming these, again, that's a network. You were seeing networks that were being formed in these masks. Okay, again, nobody's thinking, nobody's reading, nobody's seeing, nobody's observing, nobody is at all understanding how this is really working. We're not dealing with just dust particles. We're dealing with programmable dust particles that are operating on some kind of algorithm or program to do whatever it was designed to do. And again, nobody pays attention. That's when I see these people tell me, well, they can drink this and do this. And see, and I get why people go to these other gurus. Everybody wants a quick fix. I get that. I do. I get it. I understand it. You want to get over this as soon as possible. I have news for all of you. Whatever your age is, however old you are, that's how long the nano has been established inside of you, probably starting from the 1950s, where it really was more concentrated due to the air pollutants that were in the air, the epigenetics of the ultrafine particles, which are nanoparticles, which were also programmable, but they didn't have maybe the programs at the time to make them work, but they do now. So any of the nano technology or nanobiotech or anything that has to do with nano anything would have been there since day one. Since day one. And anyone born after, I think, the 80s, maybe 90s, would have been, the parents would have probably been completely loaded, and they would have passed it on into the seed and into the egg. So a lot of kids today are already networked with nano programming inside their cells. Again, this has been going on for quite some time, so don't think for 1 minute that you're going to get this over with in a heartbeat. You won't. You can get it reduced drastically, provided on your due diligence and you're working at it. You can get it down quite drastically, but it's going to be work, and it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. In fact, you're going to get your ass handed to you many a time, and you're going to get depressed. You're going to have voice the skull saying you can't win, give up, give up, give up, give up. You know, you're dying, oh, this is killing you, you need to get to a doctor, go here quickly, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the voice the skull will tell you. Whatever the voice, and this is where you have to hold your ground. This is where you have to stand tall. This is where you have to see what's happening and where it's going. Okay, now, regarding to these masks, because again, I'm such a masky kind of guy. When you're looking at people who are wearing the mask is a form of self-induced suicide. That's what it is. It's a self-induced suicide. I just gave you some samples about what happens when you're breathing through the mask and you have the nano inside your biology. So whatever bacteria or fungi or yeast or whatever you're breathing out, whatever exosomes you're coming out, the nano's involved, which will then start and form an assembly. But when you're wearing a mask, that mask is now blocking oxygen flow to the brain. It's not allowing your body to release toxins that are accumulated in the system that need to be released into the air so that the bacteria in the air and in the ground can break all this stuff down and recycle it. They got everybody believing in a boogeyman that doesn't exist. So as a result of the excess carbon dioxide going into the brain and through the body, putting you in a state of anaerobic, meaning oxygen deprived, okay, as a result of the oxygen deprivation as the masks are creating and the contamination of stuff that you're breathing in through those masks, because those masks don't stop anything. Even the N95s are not foolproof, and they're only good for 2 hours. That's it, 2 hours. And if you were to take a sample off the N95, which is what I think they did with that template, you will see how much shit is in that mask. So when you see this going on and people are breathing this in, the nano, or I shouldn't say the nano, the infection now will be pneumonia. Pneumonia. Nano pneumonia. Nano pneumonia. So what's going to happen is you're going to go to a doctor. Doctor's going to take a look and say, you got a respiratory infection. Let me take a look. Takes a look. Oh my gosh, you got COVID. You got COVID. Oh, you're going to die. Good thing you came. We have a respirator over here. We're going to get you on it right away so you can start breathing. What he's really saying is, we got a respirator over here. We're going to put on your face. Oh, you're 80 years old? Yes, we're going to make sure you're getting enough. We're going to overload your body with oxygen. We're going to blow out your lungs, and we're going to kill you on the table. That's what they're really saying. That's what they're really saying. Some people might get offended and go, oh, that's not my doctor, wouldn't do that to me. But yeah, you give them enough money, you know, they'll roll over and play dead, just like any other dog. Roll over. Oh, good boy. They'll play dead. Oh, really good boy. Here's your biscuit. There are some doctors out there that are speaking, voicing out against what I'm talking about here as well. You know, there've been a lot more in the last couple months, which is good. The pandemic that we have is brain damage. Gotta tell you, that's the real pandemic we have, brain damage. 90% of the population, maybe 95%, have brain damage. Anybody that could fall for this bullshit has brain damage. And this has happened before they had the mask. Someone told me a story today how they had family members go to this Asian restaurant somewhere out west, and all the family members did not wear a mask. You know, you're in the restaurant. You're supposed to take the mask off. You're at your table. You know, no big deal. Well, one of the relatives didn't take off her mask, freaked out when everybody else took off their mask, and said she had to leave. She was afraid of the COVID boogeyman. I'm trying to put a little theatrics into some of this. The COVID boogeyman. Ooh. And she left the table. Left the table. Talk about brain damage. Brain damage. You couldn't get any dumber than that. I mean, the brain of a gnat, and that's insulting the gnat. I mean, Einstein, like I said, was a buffoon, but the one thing he did say, there were two things in this universe that were universal, the universe and stupidity, and he wasn't sure about the universe. And people tell me all the time, well, I got to wear my mask because, I can't go into the store. Like, really? If enough of you stood up, okay, if everybody, I may have a glitch here because I had a little bit of something caused my audio to go a little wacky. So there may be a glitch. But if everybody started really being a little bit more defiant and understanding. Look, Pfizer is on the last thing saying that this thing's over with. The doctors in Europe are saying this thing's over with. The only places that are not saying this thing's over with is in the United States and Canada, because we got guys like Fauci, Gates, Soros, and the rest of them, Zuckerberg and the rest, are now in, making money on this. This has become nothing but a scam. And if you don't wake up, one day you're not going to have a country. Canada, we're fighting here in Canada like hell because we're seeing that if we don't wake up, we're going to wind up worse than Australia. And I've said many a time, the only reason why they haven't done a sin like Australia is because we still maintained our guns here in Canada. And they're going to try like hell to get these things from you. I wouldn't surrender nothing. Nothing. Let them find out what you have the hard way. That's my perspective on that one, my opinion. Don't surrender a damn thing to the government. The government isn't worth trusting, period. Look what's being done in Alberta. What a joke. What a horrific freaking joke in Alberta. Okay, and this is being, and Ontario now has done some stupid shit. Ford, that idiot, wants to go back to stage 2 because they're trying to, again, vex the general population. And he knows damn well there is no pandemic. And he should have, they should sue him for trillions. Trillions he should be sued for. And all the representatives that are with him, the council, they should all be sued for trillions. And the courts need to uphold this. And any other mayor that's tied to the payroll of Bill Gates should be sued for trillions. So this will put a stop and an end to this kind of corruption that's going on in Canada as well as any other country. I think every country should sue their representatives for trillions. Trillions. If it causes the collapse of a government in the province, good. We can start over from scratch, and we can make damn sure that kind of thing never happens again. Period. So uphold the laws and sustain. And then the other thing I think we as Canadians we should really put an emphasis on, the federal government to remove us from the United Nations. Get us out of that. That is nothing but a piece of shit. It's done nothing but undermine us. It is controlling us. It's a wonder we don't have the UN flag flying yet over Canada instead of the maple leaf. And I've seen something where they switched the flags, and I'm not sure what flag they switched. But anyway, we need to get rid of these governments. This system isn't working because of the level. It's too easy to corrupt. It is so easy to corrupt. no checks, there's no balances. Premiers can do whatever the hell they want, write whatever laws they want. Alberta's been proving that. So we need to, like I said, make a stand on some of this stuff, and we need to pull out of the UN. And to hell with the UN. Let it burn. And don't give it not one dime. Not one dime. We don't need their influence. And the same thing with any kind of military, any other military that's on the soil in Canada needs to leave. Chinese, Russian, whatever. I think we need to develop a system here with all this AI technology. It kind of, the one thing it can do is it can take a small country with a small army, and it can create an equalizing effect with a country that has a superior military presence. So there it has its advantage, and Canada is a leading cutting-edge country in artificial intelligence and in biological warfare. So I don't see why that couldn't be done in Canada. Drone technology. I mean, you should see the drone technology. Wait till you start looking at that laws thing that's out there. It's going to freak you out what these things can do. It's definitely going to have a serious hit when you look at that, and when you begin to realize the implications of all the things they're talking about with nano, even with biology, how it's nothing but a weapon. It's a weapon to wipe out mankind. It's a weapon, like I said, that comes out of the abyss itself. It comes out from the very core of hell. That's what this is, and it's not here to help us. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's there to take us, replicate us, what's the term? To mimic us, have our experiences, have our genetics, or the code of our genetics, to replace and I'm not talking cloning at this stage, I'm talking synthetic life. Because again, once the nano is attached to your DNA and your genetic code, it can replicate that without any problem. That's how it works. When it gets inside, it activates into the cells. The one thing that the video didn't make a comment on is this: when you got this nano inside of you, you are now hackable. You are hackable. A hacker can hack your system, can implement all kinds of pain and suffering onto you, then can send you an email saying that they can help you remove the pain and suffering if you give them $10,000, $1 million, depending if you're part of the elite group. This is the sophistication of the technology today that can cause this kind of programming or operating system to go on inside of your body. We are no longer talking outer limits or fringe or Eureka or Twilight Zone. We are talking a real sci-fi scenario going on right now, and we're in it. We're in that lab. We are on the operating table. We're under the microscope. We're on a slide. We're being observed, monitored, watched, and exploited. That's how bad this stuff is. All these frequencies that they're using. Okay, when you look at nanotechnology, you see that they can make nanotechnology function just with a laser beam, or sound. If you look at the video cymatics, you can see how frequencies can alter the pattern of salt on a board because of the different frequency attenuations, and how it can create and construct with a frequency. And this is just salt. This is just salt. Imagine if you got gold, silver, copper, zinc, iron, magnesium, potassium, titanium, strontium, mercury, lead, cadmium on a nanoscale, silver. What can be done with a frequency to affect any kind of operating or programming going on in the system. This is why I said to you earlier, if you think you're going to get out of the nano real quick, you're deluded. The program that they have set inside of all of us has been designed to be active. And I've said this many a time, if you directly assault this technology, it will morph, develop a defense mechanism, and change the way it does things. No two nanoparticles are alike. No two are the same size. No two are the same shape. They all modulate at 100,000 modulations. It's impossible to lock on to anything. If somebody's telling you that, they're full of shit. Period. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no idea of anything. And if they are telling you stuff like that, 99.999 chance out of 100, they're shills. Shills, con men, and they're only there to help you along into the abyss. And them's the facts. Period. And I don't care who it is. I don't care what pod you're seeing or what pod you're hearing. If you're hearing anything contrary to what Brian or myself are saying, and I will make this bold statement, then what you're getting is a sales pitch. Period. Period. Okay, I'll let it go at that. On the site, I just put a new site up on the links here. It's called Wimkin. Wimkin is like Facebook. So let me explain it. It's like Facebook. It does what Facebook does. It has some limitations, but because now Facebook, as of October 1st, I don't know if any of you have heard this, as of October 1st, if anybody publishes anything on Facebook that's against the narrative, in other words, that masks are bullshit, and this is bullshit, and that vaccines are bullshit, they are now going to report you to a police force, which is going to come knocking on your door and possibly arrest you. So, I went to Wimkin. I never was on Facebook. I never signed up on Facebook. Facebook to me was again, and they're all military now, so I guess it really doesn't matter. But I'm gone to Wimkin. A lot of people are going to Wimkin. I would encourage you, if you got a Facebook account, erase everything off of Facebook, delete everything, drop it, go to Wimkin and start there. Get it going. F Facebook. Period. And until there's another channel like YouTube where we can put up, and I'm not talking Daily Motion, but another channel that is independent where we can put up videos, and I'm not talking Patreon either, like an independent. I would suggest you go to BitChute. If you got YouTubes, take them off YouTube if you got, or leave them there and start switching everything over to BitChute. I'm encouraging you guys to make that transition. Take a walk on the wild side. Get like I said, because YouTube is taking stuff down anyway. If you publish anything on YouTube, they take it down. Okay, there was 2 tweets that I got. Somebody in Ohio or wherever was doing the test. Now in Europe, the masks were showing that they had a tracking device. So the first one was iffy. But it did show it on the RAM. But somebody down in the States said they tested it and didn't see it. Now in Europe, they're seeing it. So then I contacted somebody else in Europe, and he was saying that they're not all in. All these trackers may not be everywhere right yet, but they will eventually be there. So keep your eye on that. But anyway, what the tweet was this guy was in, I think, Spain or Germany, and he put his cell phone on a mask, and it had a tracking device in it. It was like a strip along the mask, which showed him where he was, location. Another guy showed where they took the strip out and they hooked it up to a RAM, and it showed their location and where he had been. Now, some people are saying they haven't seen it, it hasn't worked. Possibly. I'm not saying that they're saying they're wrong. I'm saying that it may not be there yet, but it may be coming. So if I were you, if you are a mask wearer and you got a cell phone device, put it on there's a white strip on those blue masks and test to see if you're picking up a tracking signal on your phone. See if it's working. May or may not work. Again, I got two different things going on here. But the thing that I want everybody to look at is it's not impossible for them to put that kind of technology into a mask. It doesn't cost them nothing. Everything's made in China anyway. And the shit they make in China isn't designed to last anyhow. And there is that possibility that they did put the tracking devices in these masks. They may have been defective. So there's that possibility as well. And I was talking to another guy out west and in California, and he was saying that he didn't see it either, but he said it could be because maybe they weren't accessing the right frequency. It could have been a lot of reasons, he says. And I said, yeah, that's true. It could be that. Maybe it just didn't work. And there's that aspect of it too. So keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on that. I want everybody to be on their guard. Don't assume nothing. Don't assume that this can't be done. If you're assuming that, then you need to give your head a shake. There is nothing that they won't go there. There's no levels that they won't steep to put in that kind of technology to track everybody, and it's the perfect tracking mechanism as well. Because if you're wearing that mask and everywhere you go, there's a facial recognition or a body recognition or a clothing recognition with wearing the mask. Guess what? Now they have you, and they've already had that technology to do so. So, anyway, keep that in mind. Test your mask if you gotta wear these things. If you feel you need to wear this shit, test it. All right, on the site, I was talking about the Wimkin. Go there, check it out. Go to BitChute. There's a bunch of people there that are active. Brian396. You got Energy. You got Shy. You got Yanni. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget everybody. You got Sherry at Three Hearts Church. I think that's over. And then you got me also. So anyway, go on there, check out their sites, check out the information, check everything out. If you can help them financially, please do so. Everyone that's active, that's really active and doing you a service, trying to keep you informed, do the best you can and what you can help them, anybody with, as far as finances go. Yanni's in Switzerland. So, it's not cheap, and at the time it takes to make these things, it wouldn't be a bad idea to help him out over there. You got Brian out in the West Coast. Again, he puts in a lot of time. I put in a lot of time. Sherry at Three Hearts Church puts in a lot of time, and she's a minister, and she is fighting against this bullshit. So, you got a lot of good people there. You got Energy out in California. He's also doing his work, trying to help people shaking off the demonic influences of this technology and demons. So everyone is doing something to try to help mankind. So if you can, help anybody out you can. And if you don't have any money, that's fine. Share the information. One last note. Okay, I've been having a lot of people call me up, and I've got to say this again on the show. If you're going to call me up at this stage and you're going to be asking for help, I have to charge you. My time constraints now have reached a limit where I can no longer, sit there and talk to you for 15, 20 minutes anymore on the phone and not charge anything. So if you got something dire, can't afford it, whatever, that's one thing. But, if you've called me many times in the past and you've never really helped financially, then maybe it's time you start thinking about that. Because again, at this stage, with people contacting me all the time from different places, different locations, because they're afraid of the COVID, or they're afraid of this, or it takes time, and that time is taken away from me from developing things that I need to develop. So again, I'm just reminding you, if you're really broke, I don't mind. I will help you if I can. But if you are a constant caller and you haven't really done, you never really offered, maybe it's time you think about that, because there's a lot of other people out there as well. You're not the only one, and I get people are sick and they're having issues, and there's enough information out there that I put out there on YouTube, on the Wimkin, on the Pods, Micro Effect, who's probably still got the stuff up there, and all over the internet and on the website, that you can now access, and for the most part may help you anyway. So keep your eye on the Wimkin channel. I'll probably be putting remedies up there as well, so that it will help a lot of you. I still do what I can to put stuff up on the site so it'll be free to everybody. But if you call me, I'm going to have to charge you. Okay, and I think that's only fair because I've already put stuff up there for free. All right, so to the next segment. Oh wait, forgot. When you get a chance, open up the Gospels. I made mention of that earlier in the podcast. To help you be brave and maintain your courage and to do whatever, to be the person you're meant to be. Read the Gospels. Read what Jesus had to say. Go from there. Read the Gospels. Find comfort. Find some solutions possibly to maybe what you're looking for. And I always say, we're still here by the grace of God. So remember that the only reason we're still here is because God has willed it. So until the next segment, to your health. Take care.